In today's brief talk, I will cover a few topics. First will be the advent of Islam. Unless we understand Islam, we cannot understand the medieval history. The next topic will be Hindu resistance from 8th century to the 18th century. Third, Shivaji's legacy. It is divided into two parts. The proximate goal, immediate, and the ultimate effect of his legacy. And fourth will be the problem he dealt with in the medieval period is still there with us in the 21st century. That's the Muslim problem. So in light of what Shivaji did, how he tried to solve the problem in his days, what we can do in our modern times. It will not be a very long lecture, just some short points where you can go and study through various books. Even internet can suffice your queries. The advent of Islam was a tsunami. In just 10 years, Muhammad completed converting Arabia, destruction of the old pre-Islamic civilization, and in the next 100 years, the Rashidun and the Umayyad Khalifa, they destroyed the Persian Empire, the Middle East, Middle Asia and North Africa, all of it, which includes Egypt, Syria, Iraq. This was a part of Eastern Roman Empire. Totally annihilated. They lost their civilization, memory of their civilization, everything. They entered Europe in Spain and to the other corner of Europe in the Caucasus. And in the same period, they conquered two provinces of India. First, Baluchistan, at the end of the 7th century, and in the early 8th century, Sindh. If you just try to visualize the map, it was a whirlwind. Wherever they went, the entire civilizations and empires were vanquished. But the same Arab forces, when they came to India, it is true that Baluchistan and Sindh fell early. But very few people know that they had tried a naval invasion of India. They had sent fleets to Debal in Sindh, which was a harbor, Bharuch in Gujarat, and Thane in Maharashtra. In all these three places, the Arab fleets were defeated decisively. The Arab forces tried to expand in India. They attacked Kashmir, North India, Gujarat. Lalitaditya in Kashmir repelled this Arab invasion. The Gurjara Pratyahara king, Nagabhatta first, he decisively defeated them in Punjab, and Pulkeshi II, the regent of Badami Chalukyas in Gujarat, he defeated. So from 8th century to 11th century, for 300 years, these forces protected India. In our history books, we just run like Muhammad bin Qasim came, then Ghazni came, Ghori came. They don't tell us the time span. They don't tell that this same Arab force, within a span of 100 years, had conquered vast areas and destroyed many civilizations. I forgot to mention the Kabul and Zabul, those Hindu kingdoms. They defended themselves for 200 years. So Afghanistan also fell later to the Persians. In Europe, from Spain, the Arabs crossed the Pyrenees and entered France. They were decisively defeated by the king of Franks, Charles the Martyr. World knows about it. Everybody knows. In fact, in our books also, they know about Charles the Martyr, who protected Europe and Christianity. The other name is Emperor Leo, who lifted the siege of Constantinople by the Arabs in the same time and saved Europe and the Eastern Roman Empire on the European side for almost till 15th century. And though it is a later period, 17th century, but the Ottomans had reached the gates of Vienna. And the Polish king, Jan III Sobieski, he defeated them and they saved Europe. This is a known fact. But how many people know about the defenders of India? About all those Rajput kings from the 11th century till Akbar's time, when only Akbar remained as an independent king. There are so many. There is no time to tell about everybody. But the seesaw was going on. The northern India was never decisively, totally occupied. There were many, many agrarian revolts who didn't have any leader. And then in 14th century, Alauddin Khilji crossed the Vindhyas. And in one sweep, he defeated the Yadavas, Hoysalas, Kakatiyas, the Pandyas. But within few decades, during Firoz Tughlaq's time, the empire, which has almost reached all the corners of India, it crumbled under its own weight. And the first rise of the Hindu kingdom was the Reddis in Andhra Pradesh. It lasted for almost 100 years. It was absorbed into Vijayanagar. How many people know about this Reddy kingdom? About Vijayanagar too. For 200 years, it became the bulwark against Islam, the Bahmani kingdoms. And history tells us that they saved South India. All these defenders, known, unknown, their defense, their sacrifice, their victories in their times, or the defeats would have been in vain if there would have not been a Shivaji. And therefore, aptly we say that Shivaji is the savior of Hindu India. What did he achieve? His ultimate goal was survival, protection of the Hindu society, rejuvenation of the Hindu civilization. But to achieve this goal, what was the obstacle? That's the proximate goal, destruction of the Islamic empire. Initially he had a jagir from his father of 1200 villages. He started with that small capital. But he had a great vision. In fact, Gajanan Rao has given many, many examples of that. I will add one to that, is the court poet of Mirza Raja Jai Singh. While praising Jai Singh, he said that my master has defeated Shivaji, who desired to be the emperor of Delhi. So he had that kind of, but what was the purpose? There were two things. First, what was the real impact of Shivaji and his successors, the Swarajya to Samrajya? All the religious atrocities stopped. Over this 1000 years, we see many sultans and badshahs coming. What was common to them? Common to them was the dictates of Islamic ideology, destruction of idols, which has Quranic sanction. Jizya, it has Quranic sanction. How to treat the kafirs. How to treat the captured woman. Again, I'm not talking about hadith. If you take hadith, Quran and Sirah, that is the biography of Muhammad together, that forms the Islamic canon, the tradition what we call as Sharia. So treatment of women, Qatl-e-Aam, massacres, taking common people, boys, women as slaves, selling them. It had religious sanction, Islamic sanction. Killing cow, the cow slaughter in India became a tradition to humiliate the Hindus. You will find numerous instances of cow slaughter with this basic goal. So because of Shivaji and his empire becoming so powerful that all this kind of religious atrocities stopped. And the positive effect also was that after 1000 years, this old and ancient civilization got a new life. You can study that. I'm just giving you some food for thought. I'm not going into detail. If you look, for the 1000 years, do you find the tolerant face of Islam? Can you tell me some tolerant Muslims? Name. Yes, indeed, there are 3.5. Huh? No. I will start with Zainul Abidin from Kashmir. Abidin. He was a tolerant ruler. He visited Hindu temples, did Tirtha Yatra. He appealed to citizens to revert back to their Hindu fold, if they wish so. Second is Ibrahim Adil Shah. He worshipped Ganesha and Saraswati. The third is the person who was jihadi in his earlier life, Akbar. Akbar has a jihadi Akbar and then the reformed Akbar, who did Suryopasana. And ultimately founded a new religion. And as you mentioned, I said 3.5 because he never became a Badshah. Dara Shikoh. But these 3.5 persons, they are not tolerant face of Islam. All of them, they moved away from Islam. According to Quran, you cannot co-partner anybody with Allah. There is only one punishment, that is death. So anybody who is worshipping Ganesha, Saraswati, Surya, he doesn't remain Muslim. So we do not have a single instance. Another important lesson. That important lesson is, if those individuals in their particular times, they were tolerant, that did not become part of the statecraft. The state remained entrenched in the Islamic doctrines of all the atrocities I mentioned. So Zainul Abidin's son and all his successors, what they did, just read the history of Kashmir. Go on internet also. They destroyed everything. What did Akbar's son and his grandson do? We know about it. Ibrahim Adil Shah's son, Muhammad Adil Shah and Adil Shah, what they did in Maharashtra, we know. Dara Shikoh also, if he would have become the emperor, in his time he would have been tolerant like Akbar, but what would it have changed the nature of the Islamic rule? No, is the answer. Take Kabir, because Sufis were worse than these emperors and sultanates. Kabir said, Rama Niranjana Nyarare, Baki Anjana Sara. So he says all other deities are Anjan other than Ram. Can we call him Muslim in any way? No. So these are examples which are not examples of tolerant Islam. There is no inspiration from Islam. In these Middle Ages, the greatest of them is Shivaji, thought that if we destroy the power to hurt Hindus, our problem will be solved. Because this is so unfortunate that we had an encounter with Islam for more than 1,000 years, but not a single study of who they are. Why do they break our gods, humiliate us, put religious taxations on us like jizya on per head and kharaj or the tax on agriculture? Very few people know about that other tax. More people suffered, died, were imprisoned, enslaved because of kharaj. It was 50%. And it was a religious tax on Hindus. What is the religious doctrine of Islam? What is Quran? And because we never studied that, we do not understand a person like Aurangzeb. We say Aurangzeb was cruel. No, he was a very soft person as a human being. His cruelty came because he was a practicing Muslim. He tried thoroughly to follow the doctrines of Islam. On the application of Dara Shikoh, that he should be pardoned, Aurangzeb has written in his own hand a remark that now you have become a kafir. Your only sentence is death. So we have to understand Islam. And so what happened? That after this big enterprise, the great 18th century, Maratha century, unfortunately, we met with another civilization, a nation for which we were not prepared, the British. And there was a transition from the Marathas and the Sikhs to the British. And in this period, in Sanskrit we say Ishtapatti, blessing in disguise, that our eyes opened. Gradually, there was, in Europe, it took hundreds of years from Renaissance, then Reformation, and then Enlightenment. But India, it became so compact that within 125 years, all this churning happened in our society. On various subjects, we started thinking about reforms in religion, reforms in social practices. We started methodologically studying history. We started translating all the knowledge from elsewhere. We started newspapers. We started education institutions. We started institutes for destitutes, for women. In this institute, 30,000 girls are studying here. So this all happened during that, one word I will say, that Hindu Renaissance. And one of the part of that Hindu Renaissance was that Khilafat was a great eye-opener. And many Hindus, because everybody thought that if we have to win this freedom struggle against the British, Hindu-Muslim unity is essential. But Khilafat made us understand that there is something wrong. There is a Muslim problem. And the first one to realize that was Lala Lajpat Rai. He wrote some 13 essays in Tribune in 1924, in which he said, it's not possible, the Hindu-Muslim unity is not possible. And he envisaged the partition of India in 1924, partition of Bengal, partition of Punjab, that we cannot live together. Another one who realized was Madan Mohan Malviya. Savarkar, who was earlier also, who believed in the Hindu-Muslim unity, he propounded the theory and wrote the Granth Hindutva. And at the time, Dr. Hedgewar started Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangha for the defense of the Hindu society. So this was a watershed moment. That for the first time, we realized that it's not those people, the Muslims are also victims, because they have been forced, because of the forces of history, into the fold of an intolerant ideology. Intolerant political ideologies can be defeated, like Nazism, fascism, communism. But to defeat an intolerant religious ideology is a very difficult task. Nobody has found an answer to that. It's a very sticky problem, as they say. And therefore, this Muslim problem, we cannot believe how to face it. because we could not comprehend it, because we are looking through Hindu view towards the Muslim problem. I have named it as Gandhi's riddle. Or you can call it as a Hindu riddle. After 14 days talk with Jinnah, Gandhi wrote to him that how come converted people claim to be a nation? Your forefathers and my forefathers are the same. We are kith and kin to each other. Our motherland is same. The civilization before you converted is not only my heritage, it is your heritage. This was the Hindu way of looking at it. But anyone who wears the hat of Islam, the Islamic hat, we answer to Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi, you are wrong. According to Islam, there is Ummah. And those who don't belong to the Muslim Brotherhood, they are kafirs. And the Quran has dictated us to wage an eternal jihad against them. So you find the very basis of two-nation theory which Jinnah propounded into Quran itself. This doctrine of two-nation is there in the Quran. Ummah. You say that our civilization is the heritage. They said that pre-Arab civilization, before we converted to Islam in Arabia, we called this Dark Ages, Jahiliya. So if we have destroyed our own civilization, how can we own the civilization of your forefathers? So there is no brotherhood and there is no concept of motherland. Because Allah has given us the whole earth. There is a surah in Quran about that. So this was the reason we were unable to understand how come the same people, they also speak Bengali, we speak Bengali. In fact, our cuisines are same, so many other things are same, but why we are different? So remember about how this riddle and how we are going to think with wearing the Islamic hat, and then we will find some answers to this riddle. Another is, only two things I am going to say about the intolerant nature of Islam. Karl Popper, a great philosopher who wrote a book, most famous book, The Enemies of Free Society. In that he says, it is called the paradox of intolerance. Unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. Again, you go and read on internet, just write paradox of intolerance, Karl Popper. Unlimited tolerance must be led to disappearance of tolerance. If we extend unlimited tolerance even to those who are intolerant, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed and tolerance with them. I think it is so plain. If you allow intolerance to be tolerated, the tolerant society will be vanquished. And with it, the tolerant thought. Because if there is no material body to that thought, it will be destroyed. We should therefore claim in the name of tolerance the right not to tolerate the intolerant. I will not go through the whole. It is very important that you read this. Why we should understand that is, we must understand we have been unable to understand why this happened, why the partition happened. The whole goal of modern Muslim politics is, in the first step, they think only in their Islamic doctrine framework. And there are two phases of Islamic politics: the Mecca phase and the Medina phase. The Mecca phase is when they are weak militarily or numerically. They will make peaceful gestures. They will appear to be accommodative. They always go through this Mecca phase, and then you know about the Medina phase. The moment they are there, they are at the gates of Mecca, and it's Muhammad who destroyed all the 360 idols there. So their minimum goal in pre-partition area and now in our partition India is to gain parity with Hindus. And in a democratic society, to gain parity, the ploy is to use that we are two nations. However, numerically, we may be a small minority, you may be a large majority. So according to that, the whole politics is based. And now this virus of minority politics has entered into the Hindu society, the body of Hindu society. So here, first we have to accept that whatever India, the Bharat which we have to move ahead as a verdict of history. This is very important. Whatever we may wish, but it's not possible because according to them, we cannot exist together. This is the last quote, and then I will finish. Dr. Ambedkar, in his book on Pakistan, gives a quote of an Irish leader, O'Flanagan. He says, the quote, "National and geographical boundaries scarcely ever coincide. Geography would make one nation of Spain and Portugal. History has made two of them. Geography did its best to make one nation of Norway and Sweden. History has succeeded in making them two. Geography has scarcely anything to say to the number of nations upon the North American continent. History has done the whole thing. If a man were to try to reconstruct a political map of Europe out of its physical map, he would find himself groping in the dark. Geography has worked hard to make one nation out of Ireland. History has worked against it." This is what happened. That was the verdict of 1,000 years of Islamic encounter with India. We have to remember that. Now, to move forward, there is only one policy to start with. To stop the malign effects of this Muslim politics, which is aligned with all other fractious tendencies in India or anti-India forces. And that is what Savarkar said. He said that Hindus, though a majority, will have no right, no privilege, which the minorities don't have. At the same time, the minorities will have no right or a privilege which the majority doesn't have. That should become the founding principle, a change in our constitutional framework, which is possible. I'm a student of constitution. We have to do away this. Why minority rights are where they are not given the wholesale rights as a citizen. In India in 1947, we created a nation where everybody has the same right. Unfortunately, what happened because of this? Because of this minority rights, it was given to Sikhs, Recently it was given to Jains. Now the Lingayats are asking for it, and we know that is one of the cause of yesterday's Karnataka election. So this virus has entered our own, even Ramakrishna Mission, a few decades back, declared in Supreme Court that we are not Hindu because they wanted to gain the minority status. So this is one thing we have to separate. Another thing, religion has two aspects. One is the spiritual, non-material aspect of worship, and other is which is covered under our civil code, except the personal laws. Here it is very important that we have to recognize that all your material activities of religion will be governed by the constitution. De facto, they have been governed, the Hindu rights, they are being supervised, amended by the government, but not the minorities. So, if you look at Shivaji's legacy, there seems one question has remained. Shivaji also faced the existential question of survival. Again, in 21st century, we are facing the same existential question. Let us ponder on that. You are all students of history. I don't have the answers. Let us start searching for the answers. Thank you.